Okay. So, it's been a little bit, but we're back, hopefully, from now on. We are gonna be looking into the Classic Con competition on the SCP Wiki today, which was sort of, I guess, like writing prompt that I'm not even gonna go through the rule set too much here, but essentially the goal was to keep it short and to keep it classic, as in what I like to refer to or have heard it referred to as the golden era of SCP entries, the kind of early entries that didn't have a lot of additional lore or ties to other entries and stuff like that. So the goal was you had to keep it to 1,000 words maximum. You weren't to do anything too fancy with your entry. And then there were a bunch of, let's see, bonus achievements. Like there's one called The Original, which is write an article under 237 words, which I think refers to the Blinky Peanut guy entry. And then, you know, The Blind, which is an achievement for writing an article without images. There's a bunch of them. The point is, these are supposed to be sort of vintage, which I really fuck with that. So I wanted to check some of them out. As always, I'm gonna be going in blind, but I know that Veeti has checked them out beforehand and that they marked at least one of them with a little gold star, which, as a reminder, means that they really liked that one. So we have that to look forward to. Okay, I'm a little out of shape with this. What's it called? Not out of shape. I'm a little rusty, I think, is the point I'm trying to make. So this will be a good warm-up to get us going with this again. So without further ado, let's just get the video started. SCP-8345 by Rounderhouse from the SCP Wiki. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. The only known sample of SCP-8345 exists on a piece of flat 1 square centimeter canvas cut from the remains of Case Study 5 surrounded by inert gas, contained inside a hermetically sealed glass container within the Biological Agents Containment Lab of Site-19. Description: SCP-8345 is an extinct, infectious Euclidean microorganism that exhibits a number of anomalous effects on its hosts. SCP-8345's primary anomalous quality is its ability to exist in standard 3-dimensional non-Euclidean space despite possessing 2-dimensional Euclidean topology, and presumably originating from such a lower dimensional space. Oh, so it's a 2D thing. I mean, we'll get there, but it sounds like it's gonna be a 2D thing, I guess. That's pretty cool. SCP-8345 accomplishes this feat by occupying flat planes within 3-dimensional space, such as walls, paper, and screens where it can survive. While it can survive in such spaces, the absence of living hosts for reproduction makes its existence inevitably short-lived. It is believed that SCP-8345's anomalous predation method was an evolutionary adaptation to living as a 2-dimensional entity in 3-dimensional space.
Stage 1.
Early SCP-8345 infection is functionally undetectable. It is believed to occur by a flat section of the skin coming into contact with a plane occupied by 8345 cells. 8345 cells then migrates across the skin, often appearing as a blemish or a bruise, until it can reach an entry point such as a cut on the skin. 8345 will propagate freely and aggressively on the walls of the host's veins and arteries, as the 3-dimensional immune system cannot recognize or react to the 2-dimensional foreign bodies. No outward physical symptoms present, but the host may complain of a general feeling of unwellness. At this stage, the loss of mass is generally too low to be unnoticeable.
Shouldn't it be too low to be noticeable? Or is this one of those English double negative things? Like he don't mean nothing? You know? Is this just a me thing? Let me know in the comments if I'm an idiot.
Case Study
28-year-old male D-class with a large amount of body tattoos. Upon contact with the subject's soul, 8345 infection migrated up as a bruise until it reached a tattoo, whereupon it shifted into an extension of the tattoo and moved up until it encountered a pre-placed entry wound on the skin.
Stage 2.
Symptoms begin to manifest. SCP-8345 has covered essentially all the walls of major arteries and veins, and naturally begin to contract as the three-dimensional cylinder is incompatible with their topology. This presents as inexplicable sudden bruising across the extremities and moving towards the chest, as capillaries and arterioles bursts from being suddenly compressed into 2 dimensions. Blood, unable to flow through flat vessels, pools where it is, giving rise to potential crush syndrome as dying blood cells release poisonous potassium, though hosts do not live long enough to exhibit crush syndrome regardless. Having reached critical mass in the collapsing topology of the bloodstream, 8345 cells flow out into major organs and tissues. At this stage, loss of mass is noticeable and is usually attributed weight loss from illness.
Case study.
30-year-old female D-class, unable to move due to swelling and pain in the extremities. MRI revealed that 78% of the blood vessels in her limbs had flattened out, destroying the internal muscle.
Stage 3.
Advanced 8345 infections cause immense physical pain to the host as 8345 reaches critical mass within minor organs and tissues, forcing their topology to simplify. The 3 dimensions are compressed down to 2, and internal organ details and structures, such as those of the gallbladder and pancreas, are lost in the simplification, causing them to cease functioning. Muscle mass cannot be represented accurately in 2 dimensions and is further compressed, causing gangrene and necrosis in the extremities. Hosts typically lose the ability to walk. As the interior marrow of bones is compressed out of existence, blood cells cease reproducing and internal bleeding begins. At this stage, loss of mass is considerable, and the host will have lost 50 to 75% of their pre-infection body weight.
Case study.
42-year-old male D-class, death caused by diabetic shock after pancreatic failure. Autopsy revealed most of his internal muscles and organs were gone entirely. The flattening of the stomach lining caused stomach acid to flow out into the abdominal cavity, melting the simplified organs and tissues away.
Stage 4.
Late-stage 8345 infections are precipitated by a buildup of 8345 cells in the major internal organs. The ongoing simplification of the host flattens the lungs' alveoli and eliminates their ability to breathe, though this usually has no effect as the internal topology of the heart's valves has already been compressed out and caused massive heart failure. Pores have closed and hair has fallen out. All major organ systems have failed at this point. The subject would be in immeasurable pain, but the flattening of the lobes of the brain has rendered them brain dead. At this stage, loss of mass is nearly total, 80 to 95%, and the subject is no longer visible when seen from a dead-on angle.
Case study.
One of 2 non-Foundation workers inadvertently exposed to SCP-8345 sample during initial discovery. Nature of 8345 was not realized until 3 months later, whereupon the worker, a 38-year-old male, was tracked down. Apartment was mistaken as empty until recovery agents discovered the flattened subject had slipped into the 0.75 centimeter gap between the shower curtain and liner.
Which isn't supposed to be funny. But it kinda is, unfortunately. Sorry, buddy. You know, no sight of the suspect, and then it's... Oh, hold on, sir. Here he is. Oh, he's right here. Just fucking pulls him up.
Stage 5.
At this stage, the host is infested with SCP-8345 cells and has been simplified and flattened onto a two-dimensional surface, where they are indistinguishable from any other marking or graffiti.
Case study.
Second of two non-Foundation workers inadvertently exposed to 8345 sample during initial discovery. Worker's corpse was found being sold at auction at Sotheby's, having been mistaken for a postmodern artwork. Has been contained as last remaining sample of 8345.
Discovery. SCP-8345 is believed to be extinct in the wild and was resurrected by the Foundation using SCP after initial fossilized cells were discovered in 1951 in scrapings from
Lacan? Put the spelling up on screen so they can see it. It's like French. No one's gonna judge me for not being able to say that.
a network of caves in France containing over 600 cave paintings dated to the Paleolithic, primarily of large animals and humans. A secondary anomalous effect in Lacan, a high-pitched, nearly imperceptible supersonic whine throughout the cave, is believed to be unrelated.
I really fuck with this one. It's impossible to not think of what's the English pronunciation? Platon in Swedish, Plato in English, right? Plato? Can't say Plato. That's a tasty snack. But yeah, I can't help but think of the cave people, you know, and the different dimensions. Obviously, it feels like it's at least somewhat drawing from that. This nearly imperceptible supersonic whine throughout the cave makes me feel like maybe I'm missing something that I'm supposed to be understanding. I want to say that it's not a reference to some other entry because of the nature of this competition. But yeah, I'm not sure. But I really fuck with it. That said, though, I don't think it feels like a golden era, whatever, but I don't think it feels like something from that time. It's good, it's not about the quality of the thing, but doesn't quite hit that spot for me, not quite. It's teetering, it's kind of, you know, it's up there sniffing on that, but it doesn't quite nail that tone for me. But in terms of just standalone quality, I really fuck with this one. Okay, let's move on. SCP-8513 by Dr. Cimmerian from the SCP Wiki. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Once the public discovers SCP-8513, the Foundation will deploy a cover story theorizing an atmospheric disturbance that prevents decay. Affected corpses are to be remanded to Foundation custody. Ooh, short and sweet containment procedures. This is a promising start. Description. SCP-8513 is the corpse of researcher Luke Grayson. 8513 is currently undergoing a process of rejuvenation. Attempts to slow or prevent 8513's regeneration are futile, as new damage to the corpse is impermanent. Researcher Grayson died after a fall from his apartment's window on December 6, 2029, before the Betelgeuse supernova. A novel form of radiation was detected worldwide by specialized Foundation equipment during and after the supernova. SCP-8513 emits high levels of this radiation. The Foundation has deployed sensors in population centers to determine the extent of SCP-8513 contamination. These sensors showed high levels of emissions from the remains of every human who died before the event. Affected corpses are regenerating at variable rates. Complete healing will likely occur by December 9th, regardless of how long they have been dead. Notably, those who have died since the event do not appear to be regenerating even when exposed to 8513-related radiation. The Foundation has no plans capable of dealing with the 103 billion humans who will resurrect tomorrow. We believe most of them will not be able to escape their graves. That's fucking sick. That's so good. I really like that. Oof, that's really good. Oh, okay, so, man, this is tough because on the one hand, this is very, very golden era, like, ooh, a weird thing, you know? But on the other hand, it like implies that this is taking place in 2029 and that tomorrow the world is gonna end. It's very specific and super subjective here, but in my opinion, original SCP stuff felt as if it was taking place right now and that it was, you know, real government documents and that these things exist in real life. More, you know, unfiction / ARG-like vibes to it. As if it is sharing our reality and timeline and whatever. So on the one hand, it's short and sweet, it's to the point, it's not given a lot of lore. On the other hand, isn't quite here and now. It reads a bit more like a creepypasta in a way. It's a little more r/no sleep than golden era SCP. But honestly, being this good, I don't really give a shit. I fuck with this one. This one was great. Okay. Next up. SCP-8975 by HarryBlank from the SCP Wiki. Object class: safe. You knew we had to get a fucking safe one in here? Hell yeah, okay. Special containment procedures. The house containing SCP-8975 has been purchased by the Foundation, and the basement has been sealed. It must not be unsealed under any circumstances. Requests for further testing will not be entertained. Description: SCP-8975 is a small hole, around 6 centimeters in diameter, in the basement floor of a home in Canada. It was first discovered in 1961 by police when the sole occupant, one O. Shaughnessy? Why can no one be called like Jones? When the sole occupant, one O. Shaughnessy, was reported missing by his extended family. It was first discovered by the Foundation 1 day later, when Detective D. Gartner, the investigating officer, was reported missing by his department. SCP-8975 has no apparent bottom. Efforts to plumb it have been indefinitely suspended after the events detailed below.
Routine sounding conducted during initial investigation of the house recovered 6 items from the hole. Researcher L. Harvey delivered these items to Foundation experts for analysis, which was completed the following day.
1. Depth
20 meters.
Object.
Claw fragment.
Notes.
Source identified as Rattus.
2. Depth
25 meters.
Object.
Clump of hair.
Notes.
Source identified as Felis catus.
3. Depth
30 meters.
Object.
Loose eyelashes.
Notes.
Source identified as B. Shaughnessy. Footnote: child of O. Shaughnessy, reported missing 1 month prior.
4. Depth
35 meters.
Object.
Nasal secretion.
Notes.
Source identified as C. Shaughnessy. Footnote: wife of O. Shaughnessy, reported missing 1 month prior.
5. Depth
40 meters.
Object.
Loose skin fragments.
Notes.
Source identified as O. Shaughnessy.
6. Depth
45 meters.
Object.
Strand of hair.
Notes.
Source identified as Detective D. Gartner. These results were deemed sufficient to classify the whole as an SCP object. After this classification, further sounding operations were conducted by researcher M. Patel. She recovered 7 additional items and delivered them to Foundation experts for analysis, again completed the following day. So at 20 meters, where they before found the claw fragment, they now also found a clump of hair from the same rat, supposedly. At 25 meters, where we had the clump of hair before, we now also found a whisker, confirming that it seems to have been a cat. At 30 meters, she found gingiva, which is like the gum from your mouth, I think, which was identified as belonging to B. Shaughnessy, the same one that they found eyelashes from before. At 35, where we before found the nasal secretion, she now found a fingernail, which again belongs to C. Shaughnessy. At 40 meters, it is just listed as loose skin fragments again, so I'm guessing that's the same loose skin, but yeah, that belonged to O. Shaughnessy, the main Shaughnessy here. And at 45 meters, we before found the strand of hair that belonged to Detective D. Gardner. Now she also found blood there, which was identified as belonging to Detective D. Gardner. However, 50 meters down, she found something new, and that was the left second molar. Source identified as researcher L. Harvey, who did the first set of tests. So that, I don't know, I don't feel like that bodes very well for researcher M. Patel. Now I'm gonna go back to reading here. On the identification of item 7, that's a tooth, staff attempted to contact researcher Harvey without success. Following a search of his domicile, he was declared missing. Staff then attempted to contact researcher Patel without success. Following a search of her domicile, she was also declared missing. Who would have thunk? An armed guard was immediately posted to the basement where SCP-8975 is located, while surveillance equipment was en route. When technicians arrived, the guard was missing. Why? Why do they do this? It's like they never learn. They always do this, man. Some of my fucking colleagues. The fuck? Don't send a guard in there when... The house was immediately vacated and the basement hermetically sealed. No further soundings have been attempted.
This one's sick. I think this one's really cool. I'd say out of all the ones thus far, this one definitely feels the most like one of those original couple of hundred entries, I think. At least to me. Maybe my memory is tainted. Maybe I have rose-tinted glasses on. But I mean, what is it? It's a hole. It's just a hole in the ground. And I think it's worth noting, if you could pull up the photo again here, Veeti, that it isn't like, I think if you're only listening to this, you imagine this big hole that you could fall into, but it isn't. It's the size of a drain or something, which personally I think adds a lot to it, because it's like you can't really fall into it. So then why, whenever they like send down I don't even know, probing equipment, some long hook, a camera, something, they like find all these body parts and stuff, and then we never really get an explanation or anything to like how or when people disappear in the room. But yeah, I really fuck with this one. This one's great. But let's move on to the last one of the day, which I happen to know that Veeti gave a little gold star. So I think we might be in for a treat here. SCP-8411 by Dino Draws from the SCP Wiki. Object class safe. Wait, you're telling me that Veeti's favorite one is safe classed? Huh. Who would have thunk it? Special containment procedures. Any instances of SCP-8411 found along hiking trails or regularly explored parts of the Appalachian region are to be destroyed. All personnel are permitted to scratch out, vandalize, or remove sections of bark as to disrupt the anomaly. Bark containing new symbols should be carefully removed and transported to Site 898 for appropriate cataloging. Description: SCP-8411 refers to a collection of symbols that have been discovered on various species of betula, that's birch trees, throughout the Appalachian Mountains. These symbols are typically either carved into the wood directly, painted on via spray paint, or drawn with charcoal. Due to varying levels in craftsmanship and presentation, it is believed that SCP-8411 instances are trail markers created by many individuals across the Appalachians. Upon being viewed, SCP-8411 sigils will mimetically impart a sense of their meaning onto the observer. Shortly after SCP-8411's initial discovery on a hiking trail in late 1975, it has been noticed that only certain individuals appear to be receptive to this mimetic effect. While the exact criteria for being affected by 8411 is currently unknown, testing by Site-898 staff has revealed this includes, but is not limited to, Mobile Task Force members, footnote specifically Site-898's Search and Rescue MTF Gamma 89, Site Security, and Containment teams. However, it has been found that those who spend a sufficient amount of time attempting to study or locate SCP-8411 instances will gradually become receptive to them. Foundation personnel of the above criteria have been capable of replicating functional 8411 symbols, but mimetic qualities only occur when instances are on the bark of betula trees. Below is a catalog of known SCP-8411 instances.
Stand nearby. Footnote most likely referring to tree stands, man-made platforms utilized in game hunting. Safe zone. Be alert. Dangerous wildlife near. Footnote impression usually of either bears, cougars, or coyotes specifically. Hold your fire, do not proceed. Hunters welcome. Footnote found usually near residential cabins. Someone vanished here. Do not search. Do not enter alone. Ignore sounds. Check amount. Won't stay dead long. No one is calling your name. Something hears. Something watches. She who sees through trees.
Okay, yeah, that was pretty sick. I get it, Veeti, I see you. It is way too visual to fall into the golden era for me in terms of vibes, but I mean, I obviously I really fuck with this, both with the whole visual thing. It's got a very like analog horror type vibe. Here it's like sort of scribbled drawings, but it's essentially filling the same purpose as all of those Mandela catalog style informational videos where you have the little toilet sign looking guys, and it's like, oh, you know, do this and don't do that. But yeah, I obviously both fuck with that like visual aspect of it, and I think doing like sort of ancient ancient evils, forests and stuff like that is hard to pull off, and when it is pulled off well, it is among the best shit, and when it is pulled off less well, I am like really not interested, if that makes any sense. It's one of those where my gut reaction to like, oh yeah, there's like a being out in the woods, an ancient being, I'm immediately kind of like, we sure about this? This is what we're doing? But then when it's good, like it is here, I'm always like, fuck yeah, every SCP should be about some ancient creature in the woods sort of watching you when you're, I don't know, it's a setting that you have to be careful with, I think. Okay, so I can put this back on. We did it. So those were how many? 4, 5, 4, I think, entries from the classic con. Maybe we should check out a few more. If you've read any of them, I'd be interested in any recommendations regarding which ones you think hit that like old school SCP entry vibe, you know? I'd be curious to see how well people managed to emulate it. But that being said, thank you so much for watching. We're back finally. Again, new space, new office, trying to make it a little homely here. If everything goes according to plan, we'll be back now doing this on a weekly basis again. Don't hold us to it if we need to take a week off every now and then. Me and Veeti both get busy with yeah, it's not all recording and fun, you know, there's a lot of paperwork and stuff going on the back end here, but whenever we have time, this is we're gonna continue our very important mission of cataloging all of these entries. Up on screen right now should be our patrons and YouTube members who've stuck around for a good while. As we've been getting the new office set up and working on other stuff. So to them, we are very thankful. What did you think about the... Nah, we don't have to do that here. Let me do this instead. If we wanted to do more videos like the anti-memetics video, the behemoth, I don't remember how long it was, the 3-hour something video we made, what would we do it about? Is there some specific... I know there's a lot of sort of longer narratives and lore heavy parts of the SCP universe that I've never explored. Maybe we could sort of do a summarized walkthrough of an entire timeline of something like that. I don't know, I've been toying around with ideas, but now I've given so many different things for you to comment about about which entries from the classic con we should read, and now if we should do more long videos and whatever, but you know, doesn't hurt to leave a comment about anything, so that's also fine. Again, thank you to the people up on screen. If you want to join them, there's a link down below. If you want to just join the YouTube members, you don't even have to leave the website. How nifty is that? And hope to talk to you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.